Hi, welcome back to my Obsidian Mirror podcast. My name is Cynthia, and this is going to be a recording for the full moon lunar eclipse happening in Libra. So this is my Obsidian Mirror gaze for the full moon in Libra, and it's also a lunar eclipse. And it did not disappoint. In fact, I woke up this morning with this really frenetic energy to sit down and do the gaze right then. And then a bunch of interfering, intense sort of catalyzing energy was coming through that just wasn't allowing the gaze to take place. And the message coming through loud and clear was stop stumbling around in here like some big T-Rex. That was literally the image, was this foolish T-Rex, and that was me. So it's already a really funny and intense scrying session around this full moon for me personally. And I was being ribbed and shown, just slow down, not on your time, just slow down, get clarity, meditate. This isn't an energy to toy with. You need to have a focused, determined effort when you sit down to do your gazing session and not be in this weird, frenzied energy that you're in. So I listened, and I did a bunch of other work today before sitting back down to do the gaze. And then, like expected, it went through very properly this time around. But I want to first start off with imagery that came through the night before, in the middle of the night, because it was very much meant for me to include in this scrying session, even though it happened last night in the middle of sleep, really. So it's a little bit erotic, but that's okay, because that's what came through, and I'm not somebody who's afraid of or ashamed of female eroticism, but just know that it's a little adult for a topic. So the very first channeled experience around this scrying session for the Obsidian Mirror was I woke up to an orgasm. And as I was having the experience of the orgasm, which is timely, this is spring, we just went through the spring equinox. This is a time when many of us have an experience of quickening in our system biologically, right? So this is right on time. So I woke up in the middle of the night to my own orgasm. And as I was climaxing, all of the frogs outside started singing. It's like they could feel it. And it was really surreal and really beautiful. And so that's the very first image. And the frog is a carryover from the last session and possibly even the session before that. I think this is the third appearance that Frog has made in these scrying sessions. And last night it was very literally, they were singing outside in concert in a very beautiful way in response to the orgasmic energy that was in the air. So that was a really beautiful image. Then kind of moving forward in time, I had this sort of disrupted morning where I sat down to do the gaze and it didn't work out. And I was almost admonished to get myself more centered before trying to do the work today. So now I sat down this afternoon, just now, to do the full gaze with the mirror after feeling much more grounded. The first thing that came through the gaze for me was kind of an image of mist and fog. But if you can picture this, if you've seen what I'm talking about before, it's like a time lapse sped up significantly. So a photographer might go out and take a really long shot of mist rolling over a mountainside and then speed up the timing so that you're watching it happen sped up. That's what I was seeing happen with this mist rolling across the gaze itself, the plane of the Obsidian Mirror. So I kept seeing that mist like a waterfall sped up, crossing the mirror. Then out of that mist emerged, there's no other way for me to describe it but as a crane shaman. So this would be a shaman dressed in a robe of feathers with the head of a crane doing a crane dance. And so that was a very powerful visit out of the mist, this crane shaman doing a crane dance. Then the crane shifted into a vulture, and I saw the white face of a vulture, and that vulture's face just kind of stayed in suspended darkness for a time, the white face of a vulture. Slowly out of that white vulture emerged a bat flying. So that was the, continuation out of that. Then after a while, the bat was also like a mist, like a pointillist mist almost, or fragments of water droplets, which is interesting. Then that kind of suspended there in air for a while, the image of the bat in flight, sort of like a pointillist image of a bat. Finally, emerging out of that came a throne, and a throne is a very mighty spiritual symbol. I'm not sure how deeply I'll go into the throne as a spiritual symbol here, but it's a very powerful one. The Chariot card represents that powerful imagery in the tarot. And it was a lit up red throne. So a very fiery red throne was being shown to me, very highlighted. Beyond the throne was a thunderbolt, and it was letting me know about its iteration of itself, a lightning bolt or a thunderbolt, being very specifically the colpo de fulmine, which is an Italian expression for love at first sight. But you'll find if you go into that thunderbolt or lightning bolt love at first sight theme, there's a lot of mythological history behind the colpo di fulmine, or the love at first sight lightning bolt. That lightning bolt came through very prominently after the throne image shifted away. So, let's see. Beyond the throne, there was then a very giant, which indicated to me it meant like to be represented as a deity. That was sort of what I just intuitively understood in this image, because it was a very large, gigantic frog face. So it meant to be shown like a deity. This is a frog deity. It was showing me beyond that sort of colpo de fulmine lightning bolt. And then beyond the frog deity's face that came through very strongly, the final message or the final image, I should say, not message, but it, take it as it resonates, was a centifolia rose, a very beautiful, deeply, deeply pigmented, deepest, most gorgeous, like magenta blood red centifolia rose. And this was a fairly colorless gaze other than the red of the throne. And the white of the vulture's face. So I just want to also put out there that two deities that I think may have been represented here, I'm going to try to refrain from interpreting too much, but they're just kind of trailheads for you to follow if you're interested in this kind of iconographic imagery and this archetypal imagery. So the frog, the fertility orgasm, and then the frog deity, I think speaks to Heket, which is an Egyptian god of fertility represented by a frog. Some think that she is the precursor to Hecate, the Greek goddess of witchcraft. The other deity that I felt being expressed here, right beyond that frog deity being shown that centifolia rose, is the goddess Flora, which is it's a Roman goddess of fertility and of flowers, and also a relative of Cupid. So, and I think Aphrodite. So those are some trailheads to follow here. There's a very erotic theme running through this whole session. And so I closed the mirror after seeing the centifolia rose. It was a very definitive ending. And now what I'm going to do is pull cards to tie the reading together as I've done in previous readings. And we'll call this session for the full moon lunar eclipse in Libra a closed session. So just some tying together cards for the gaze itself. And then one element I'm going to try to incorporate in these scrying sessions with the obsidian mirror is some tying it together single card pulls during the week to see, because one thing I've been noticing and actually really loving and finding pretty amazing is the themes carrying through each session and the way that they evolve and shift. So tying it together themes, please, for this gazing session from the tarot. So this, the three cards here are the Eight of Pentacles, the Three of Swords, and the Five of Pentacles. So I think closing the way that I read these three cards together as a card reader in relation to this full moon eclipse in Libra is that your work to cleanse away the wounds in your heart center and the wounds of your heart, the sorrows of your heart, and the sorrows of your fears of having been abandoned in the past or being left out in the cold. Your work through this full moon eclipse is to release that sorrow and to surrender it to the dark of the obsidian mirror, right? An obsidian mirror is also a healer. Some perspective says that a mirror is a way for our ancestors to speak their healing wisdom to us through the portal of the mirror. That's one take, right? The message of these cards is telling me to use those themes that came through as healing themes for you to clear away the wounds of the heart center. One person phrases it, she's a plant spirit medicine teacher, Joyce Nedishin, and she says the bloody wounds of the heart. And that's really captured here with the Three of Swords card, piercing the heart center. So working with this eclipse full moon energy to release the wounds of the heart and the abandonment of the heart, utilizing this fertility of spring possibly. I'm going to pull a couple text cards here and then we'll close the reading. Hawthorn might be a plant that has message for you because the centifolia rose, hawthorn and rose are both healers for wounds of the heart and wounds and blood. And so hawthorn might be another plant that has medicine for you right now through this lunar transit. Sing to clear your throat chakra and lift your spirits. Medicine of laughter. So engaging your throat chakra is going to be another way to cleanse away the sorrow of the heart center and the feelings of abandonment. So I think with that, I'll close this reading. Thank you so much for being here. It's my honor, and I'm really loving doing this mirror work. And so I'll see you in future readings. Thank you so much.